Hi, I'm Andrew McNeese and this is Tactical Review. While I'm an expert at nothing, I do have a fair grasp of critical thinking and as such have an opinion or two. And that's what these videos are all about. My opinion. Nothing more, nothing less. So if you enjoy what you see, enjoy what you hear, feel free to like and subscribe. So check it out. This is my very first review. But before I get started, I'd like to give a shout out to 32 Icon. Yep, that's 32 Icon, Olivia, out in Connecticut. If you're interested in a lighthearted, easy to hear, easy to understand review of firearms or accessories, be sure to check out her channel. Additionally, an all-time favorite of mine is John Correa with Active Self-Protection. If you want tips and information on the use of firearms in a self-defense situation, be sure to check out his channel. Today we're going to talk about the Smith & Wesson M&P Bodyguard. Now before we get started, I do need to divulge that I am an M&P fan. I love the M&P series. And beyond that, I love the M&P series and I love the M&P series. So I do have a bit of a dog in the fight in that regard. But I will do my best to give you my most honest review. For those of you who are unaware, the M&P Bodyguard is chambered in .380. It comes with two 6-round magazines. It has a barrel length of 2.75 inches. It's a compact. It's also double action only, hammer fired. It has both front and rear sights, which are drift adjustable. The grip is polymer. The overall length is 5.25 inches, weight 12 ounces. Frame material polymer. Barrel material stainless steel, slide material stainless steel, and in this particular sampling the finish is matte black. The controls are fairly straightforward. Takedown lever, slide stop release, and safety magazine release. None of the controls are ambidextrous, and the safety is an optional. I like to have a safety on a pocket pistol of this type. Being left-handed, it's not practical for me to try to use in carry mode, but when I store a weapon like this, I kind of like to have that little added layer of safety available to me. I really like the sights on this particular weapon. You'll notice that this one has a whiteout ramp that did not come from the factory with the whiteout ramp. It has normally just a black ramp, and I'll explain why this became a whiteout ramp a little later in the review. I was excited to receive this weapon to evaluate, and one of the first things that I like to do is a feed and eject test. So my first task was to load up one of the magazines, and what I noticed straight away was that loading that 6th round into the magazine was just almost impossible. I was pushing and pushing and pushing, and finally I got it in. And then I slapped it into the magazine well, and something didn't feel right. So, well, I decided eject it, but not going to happen. The eject button would not work. I decided then, well, let's rock around. Slide would not move. What the heck's up? So I tried to depress that magazine release button a few more times. Not going to happen. Ended up taking it to my little shop area, found a non-marring tool, and did a little tap on the magazine release. Finally was able to get the magazine out. I loaded up the second magazine, had no problems whatsoever. Loaded up fine. It was able to chamber and eject all of the rounds without any issues. Then I disassembled both magazines, and what I found was the magazine spring in the functioning magazine was nice and straight. The magazine spring in the malfunctioning magazine was almost J-shaped. Obvious manufacturing error. Upon acquiring a new firearm like this, I always like to do an initial feel strip. Being familiar with the M&P series, first thing I did was go to flip down that takedown lever, and nothing happened. A little more pressure, nothing happened. A third time, nothing happened. What's up? Why won't it move? Well, I had to violate one of the rules of manhood and actually consult the manual. And there I found that I had to use a non-marring tool to actually push that lever down. Now that was a little bit of a disappointment for me because I really don't like using tools to feel strip a weapon. But hey, you know, it's the way the gun is made, so no problem. So I used my non-marring tool and was able to move the lever down. And then when I went to remove the slide, nothing happens. It's not moving. It won't come off. What's wrong? This is not acting like a normal M&P. So once again, I violated the rules of manhood, consulted the manual, and lo and behold, yes, that little takedown lever has to be completely removed. So I go to pull it out and it won't come out. What is wrong? So again, I violate the rules of manhood. Look a little further into the manual and you have to, it seems, hyper rotate it into a kind of an odd angle, and I'll show you what that looks like when I actually do the fuel strip for you on camera. But you have to hyper rotate it and then pull it out, and I did that. It came out just fine, and then the rest of the fuel strip was very straightforward. Then it was time to reassemble. Piece of cake, right? Well, everything went fine until I went to put that takedown lever back into place. I positioned it in the same position that it was when I removed it, and it just wouldn't go in. What's up with this? Again, I violated the rules of manhood, consulted the manual, and it says to install the takedown lever, you have to hyper rotate it in the opposite direction and then push it into place until it clicks. So I did that, pushed it in, it clicked, and it's just flopping there. It's not right. So once again, I violated the rules of manhood and consulted the manual, and there I found that in addition to rotating into that unusual angle, you also had to make sure that the barrel was completely out of the way. I ended up inverting the weapon so that the barrel was pointed down using gravity to my advantage. Again, I'll show this to you when I do an actual fuel strip for you. But I was able to get the takedown lever into position, but that initial click was not quite enough. I had to push it a second time, so I had actually 2 clicks. And once it was in position, everything else was fine. The assembly was complete, and we were ready to give it a go at the range. Function at the range was just fine, actually. I found that the accuracy was really good. I'll show you a couple of targets in just a moment. I had one failure to feed, which I'm guessing was probably ammunition related. Other than that, I had no issues. Accuracy was fine. The weapon felt very good in my hand. It cycled well. The recoil was very manageable. There wasn't really anything at all that I could complain about, except the front sight being totally black. Given the lighting in the range that I was using, I had a lot of difficulty acquiring that front sight, and that's why I elected to white out that ramp. And I'll tell you, that made a huge day and night difference in being able to acquire that front sight. And so if you ever do decide on picking one of these up, that's a modification I would certainly recommend. Trigger pull was very long and very heavy. I don't have a scale, but I'd say it was at least 12 pounds. It might have been a little bit more. It was very smooth, however. I had no problem with accuracy, as I will be showing you on some target samplings. Okay, let's take a look at a couple of targets here so that you can get an idea of the accuracy of the Bodyguard. I shoot a course of 5 rounds each at 3 yards, 5 yards, 7 yards, and 10 yards. And these are the patterns that I got on that course. Very, very acceptable for self-defense shooting. This second target is 13 rounds fired at 10 yards only, and I was able to land 11 on the paper, 2 off of paper. Again, not bad for self-defense range. Okay, this last target is 4 rounds from 20 yards, and I was able to land 1 on paper. I don't make any claims of being the best shot in the world. That being said, I would say that for me, anything beyond around 12 yards would be really stretching it as far as defense accuracy with this weapon. One other issue did show up on the range that I can demonstrate for you right now. This magazine has 1 round of inert ammunition. Slide is back and boom! Slide is now forward. That should not happen. While I can see a potential tactical advantage to having that slide slamming forward as soon as you get that magazine in place, I don't like a slide or any other part of a firearm moving unless I'm in control of it. So I'm going to have to call that some kind of a manufacturing defect. Alright, now we're going to do the field strip. I'll be using my extremely expensive and hard to find gunsmithing tool here to accomplish this. We're going to start by rotating down to 90 degrees down this takedown lever. It's going to require push along the side, and let's see if I can get some extra light on this so that you can see it well. As you can see, it is straight down. Now what I'm going to have to do is hyper rotate it another, about 1/8 of a turn. Let me show you what that's going to look like here. We'll move it a little further, right about there. Now let's take a look at that. See what that looks like there? Right there. Okay, now we can pull that pin out, and the pin comes out very simply, and then the rest is just moving the slide forward off of the frame as thus. And then the rest of the disassembly is very straightforward. Spring comes out very easily, barrel pops out easily, and that's your full field strip. Alright, now let's work on the reassembly. Pretty much the reverse of what we started with. Barrel goes in, spring goes in, everything reassembles onto the frame. Lock the slide back. Now, notice how the barrel is here. If your barrel is in this position, retract it back, there's no way you're going to get that pin back in. It will not go back in. So what we have to do is, I use gravity to my advantage, and notice that with the end of the gun pointed down, when you retract the slide, that barrel slides forward as well. You have to have that barrel forward, otherwise you won't be able to complete the reassembly. Now I'm going to put the pin back in, the takedown lever pin, and I'm going to show you here. Let me get again a little extra light on that. See how that is angled upward, almost like a 2 o'clock. You have to have it in that position. Push it in and you'll feel a little bit of a click. You might even hear it here. Here we go. Okay, you heard that? It's not done yet though. Now you move it down to about a 3 o'clock, and then you push it a second time. So, hear that? Now it's in this position. Okay, now you can move the slide forward because the reassembly is complete. So that was our field strip and reassembly process. Now the big question is, do I recommend the Smith & Wesson Bodyguard? Now I wish that for my very first review I could give you a definitive yes or no. Unfortunately, I can't, and this is why. I'm an experienced shooter, and so I have no issues working around the little quirks and idiosyncrasies that I found with this weapon. And because of how well it fits in my hand, how well it shoots, just the ergonomic size, everything works for me for this gun. Now, for the novice shooter, I'm afraid I can't recommend the M&P Bodyguard. And the reason why is because of the quality control issues that I came across. Now, if you purchase one of these and you're a novice and you have it inspected and verified fully functional by a gunsmith, or you have an experienced shooter examine this weapon and determine that it's functioning the way it should be functioning, absolutely. I think the Bodyguard is a good choice. But if you're a novice and you don't go through those steps, I think I would have to say look for something else. So there you have it, my opinion on the Smith & Wesson Bodyguard. I'm Andrew McNeese, and this is Tactical Review.